Hello from the yarn closet in Tucson, Arizona. This is Laura, me, and I was hoping to have a slightly different setup for today that worked a little bit better. It'll never happen. However, I did move the furniture again and I do like it better now this way. And I have hopefully a longer podcast, and I'm sorry it's taken longer today to get things together. We've had a lot of activity recently. The numbers are starting to jump a little bit in the Ravelry group. Lots of activity, ladies. And possibly gentlemen. There are a few names that make me think that perhaps, just maybe. It's been a really neat day. I am Yarn Closet Arizona, AZ, on Ravelry and Instagram, and the Yarn Closet group on Ravelry. And once those numbers and activity go up, there will be bigger prizes. I believe on Saturday that I'm going to be pulling at least one name from the Ravelry group because there's been so much activity. You should thank the 3 people who've been behind it. My daughter's already fallen asleep for the night. My son is doing his wind down. My husband's off camping, hunting. He hasn't actually shot at anything in a couple of years. Physically, I don't know that he's up for it. Although he does shoot at a fairly regular amount, you know, every month he probably gets out and does some shooting with somebody. I'm thoroughly enjoying the time at home, even though my shoulder is like out of joint today. My daughter is a hefty little girl and tweaked it over the holiday, and then I just did something wrong today and wham. And I also came home to this insane gift. I do a thing on the Ravelry group. I will crank a tube out of sock yarn I have if you send me a skein of sock yarn and a mini. Sometimes people are crazy and they'll send me a couple of minis, and it doesn't even have to be like packaged. It can be 20 grams of leftovers that you have. I'm good with that. Because I think they need to see what these sock tubes are and the craziness. And when I have my hat machine in a few weeks, I will probably do something similar. However, I'm also looking into a website or an Etsy shop to sell the hat tubes, because there's a lot of people out there who make the socks, the crank socks, who sell the tubes. And I think that every once in a while someone might want something in a different size. Because the neat thing about the hat tube is that it is big enough to make a hat. And I should have cylinders to do sport weight and fingering. But also, you can take that wider tube, you can cinch it in, and you can make teddy bears. There's a lot of different options as to things you can do. Cowls. I'm looking forward to making the wider tubes and doing some Kitchener on both ends. So it's like a longer cowl that I can wrap again. Because the bottom line is, as much as I want to do, I have found over the last couple of years with the health concerns, that my brain can't always handle it. I'm really shocked that my brain has handled the knitting over the last year plus, and that I've gotten to the point that I've gotten. I'm going to put this down for a sec. Because I went from socks with no heels, managing to get the toes done, figuring out how to hang hems manually and on my machine, to being able to cut in the heels. I'm now putting some cut-in heels on some of my socks. Remember this one where the blue, I just had managed to get a little outer end that wasn't a sock yarn, and the blue had blown out, so I made sure. I've rearranged and gone through all my odds and ends. Anything I was questionable about is in a totally different, it might turn into just teddy bear stuffing pile. So anything I use on something I send out is for sure and definitely got a component of nylon, stellina, palmide, blah, 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 silk, something to give it some strength. And these are not, these are not my favorite heels, but I literally went in and picked up all the stitches again. I was concerned because of my woven in ends if I was going to get wonky, and just put in the heels. And I wasn't exactly sure what I'd done before. I think I did a couple more base rows prior to decreasing. So these might be a little bit tighter, but I don't care, they're for me. Because most of it's for me. And yeah, on this side, it's a little bit stretchier. But I did it. I did it. For some reason, I'm getting over some of the fear factor. My crazy pink acrylic baby blanket, I ended up, because I was just judging, and my judging isn't great in knitting yet, I ended up having to tink back or frog back like a row and a half of stitches, and I didn't think I could do it. I thought I would get mucked up, but I did it. And that gave me an amazing amount of confidence. I've also found out, I don't remember where my red pair is, but I have found out that when I'm trying to hang a hem manually, and it's not in self-striping, that I can't follow a straight line. And these are very short hung hems. But what I did is I went through and I very loosely stitched around my row in the green yarn, which you can't see here. And then I hung the hem with the pink yarn, and you can't see it. But I realized I have to do that, or this will not be even. And this is a much shorter hung hem than I like. But this was just a really small tube, and I had two of them, and I thought, well, if they're just for me, I need practice, so I'm gonna just make them. I'm gonna do it. And now I think I have the confidence to go back into that red set that I love. I love that red yarn. It's a Lolo did it, Sriracha, I think. I just love it because I love red. Red and purple, yellow, those are my three favorites. Green is number 4. Blue would be number 5. But I made it. And these are slightly big because they're from a 72 cylinder. I normally do them a little bit tighter. But it worked, and I'm practicing. And so I did all of that sewing, and you can't see it. And then I weave in an end, and look at that. You know, these, I managed to finish these. And these also, I like the heel more, but they don't quite fit either. I don't know what the deal is with that. I'm trying to write down I got the book out there. I'm trying to write things down. I'm trying. Not so good at that. But anyway, I got this lovely bit of yarn in response to a tube that I sent out an eon ago. And it's a Lorna Laces in 100 grams. I've only ever seen them on Craftsy at 50. Oh, I think I've had this one before. Is it Riviera? River. My God, that's lovely. And I was just thinking about a set of socks that I made that were in a gradient yarn. So they ended up kind of opposites, but I gave them as a gift. I think I'd like to do that again. And this is a Loopy Legends Water Lilies. And I love it. And now the one interesting thing that I'm starting to understand, because I think I wash my socks a little more frequently, the dust here is insane. It's insane. You can feel it in everything. And so I'm learning that superwash is either from a coated wool or a chemically treated wool. And if you've got superwash socks, and I don't think there's any way to know, if they're coated, I think eventually that's wearing off in the washing and drying in the machine, because a couple of my pairs seem to be felting more than others, and they shouldn't be felting if they're superwash, right? Although socks will felt more because of the sweat and the, right? Am I right? Let me know. And then this Stroll Tonal Mini Pack from Knit Picks. My God. In reds and purples. Oh, this is going to be fabulous. I'm so excited. And like I said, there is improvement, because this was one of my first ever, I mean, it's the same yarn as this one. It's just been washed a bunch of times. I didn't even, my ribbing, I mean, look at that. Can you see that? Look at that. My ribbing, I do not like ribbing. If I'm going to do ribbing, it's going to be a 1x1. I mean, it's just horrendous. This was from months and months ago. You know, just horrendous. Yeah. And look at how much grayer and browner this is. And that's that dirt. Yeah, so those are going in the wash. Oh yeah, and see the other one? Rolled. I didn't even know what to do. And then I had some ends that were just bothersome. That's fabric glue. They're not tight. I don't feel it. These were for my son, but then I found out recently he doesn't actually like the yarn. He likes the idea of the yarn. And I knew that. I was just waiting for him to know that. So he's kept like one pair of fingerlifts gloves, and that's fine. So now, see, I have a toe here, and I totally Kitchenered it inside out, because I don't know why I thought that I had to do that, but do you see that? Yeah. How weird is that? And this was the waist yarn, but he liked it so much that I just kind of split it, and it's 72 and there's no heel. So I'm going to hang a hem, probably a bigger one because I like that, and then put in heels and kind of take them over for myself. And since then I've gotten some not waist yarn in the brighter green. So that's one of the pairs. And I just kind of slammed through that stuff. Wow. Oh yeah, I didn't even show you this. This is Artistic Lily Cacti. And then this is Desert Vista Dye Works Smooshy. Because these were DK and done on a 48 cylinder. So I think that's going to work for a fun pop of a heel. I'm also getting some green from Lolo, a mini. I don't remember what it was, but I couldn't resist. And now with the rewards points, the loyalty points over at Lolo did it. Oh my gosh, isn't that fun? So now that I have spent $1 bazillion on tons of different sock needles because I was doing 2 at a time and trying DPNs. I don't like DPNs. I lose them. And I wasn't figuring out, like, I thought I had to have all of these. And then I realized, no, I don't need to have all different 2 millimeter, 2.25, 2.5, 2.75, 3, 3.25, 3.5. I don't need to have all of those en masse. I'm even going to do that DK on a 2 millimeter because that's getting me the gauge that I want, whether it's DK or fingering. And it just seems to work well, although it does eat at my fingertip a little. And so I just, you know, we all end up with this weird array of needles, and I think that at some point, if we culled through, we could probably take out a dozen or more that just never get used. And as long as you have one, yeah. So I'm feeling a little frustrated by those extras in my stash. But I'm really liking that I fixed those socks, that I did the tinking in that project. I've got another project, a shawl. You know, I really enjoyed making a couple of these quick little garter stitch shawls with some color transitions. I don't think this color transition really worked as well as some of my others, but it's a great way to use up those little bits. And, you know, because that's like 12 grams. And I love color combining. I love color combining. I'm also trying to figure out, you know, 2 strands of fingering weight, is that really equal to sport weight or DK weight? And then you've got some of them that say they're sport weight, but really it's almost identical to the fingering. That's so annoying. But, you know, you watch the tutorials, you listen to the stuff, and you hear these people say, oh yeah, just carry it along the side and do this little folding trick and you'll never even notice it and whatever. Well, yeah, you totally will notice it. Sure, there's the occasional spot where you're doing just one garter bump row where you're really not going to notice much of anything. But then down here, I should have cut. I absolutely should have cut. And there just might be enough that I can still cut and pull that out, because that's, I mean, I'm all for leaving those little oops. If you're not a knitter, you're not going to notice. But a non-knitter's going to notice that. I'm a blind lady and I notice that. Oh yeah, for you new viewers, I'm legally blind. This one no, this one is broken. This one is good, but this one is hurting today. So I don't know what the deal is with that. So basically I see out of this eye, like looking through a straw, and everything is blurry. I'm blurry in the camera right now. I can't drive anymore. I drive a little mobility cart on the sidewalk with my kids to get them back and forth to school. I do have a job because you can make any computer talk to you, and you can make it really big. As far as the job goes, I thought I'd have all this extra time in November and December when I'm covering maternity leave in the library, and I was swamped. Did a bunch of projects, had some pressure from above to do some things at a different rate than the normal librarian. I love you, honey, but I'm just going to do what I'm told. And so I'm doing a little bit more now, you know, a few minutes here, a few minutes there. The kids are feeling that pressure Oh, Magnus woke up. So the poodles were like, they're feeling the pressure to do a little bit more reading because our first semester ends on the 20th, I believe. That'll be my son's last day. He will start online Christian homeschooling in January. So my schedule will change a little bit to be home with him on Mondays and Fridays to get him going and wrap him up. He'll spend Wednesdays at the grandparents, and we'll see about Tuesday and Thursday because I normally work half a day at home and half a day there. For the newbies, my husband has a couple of interstitial lung diseases, and many of them are terminal. That is the way he likes to phrase it. He has progressively gotten worse in the last year and a half. I mean, it's just continually gone down. Medicines help a little bit. So we'll see. And so I'm not sure how my son's gonna do those half days here. If Dad's just in bed napping, he might feel a little uncomfortable. My son is on the spectrum, very high functioning, very smart, skipped a grade, stayed in on a roll, but really still needs a strong sense of security and stability, and he's a fabulous kid. He's more immature than most kids his age. You were the one who got him all going. Yes, you were. I thought you were sleeping with Prudence. So we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. I am just taking it one day at a time now. Just one day at a time. Okay, don't put your sandpaper feet, though, on the yarn, please. Okay, you go over there with Sadie. Go on. Really? Thank you. So you heard that. I snapped my fingers and she sat down and he sat down. It was one of our little tricks for the babies. Is this about a treat, or is this about a treat? Do you want a treat, or do you want it outside? All right, we're gonna take a podcasting break for the dogs. So, yeah, I take things one day at a time. And this year, 2019, is going to be the year of the sweater. My goal is, since I've only ever done a baby one, is to do another baby one since my friend had a baby. But to get 4 done in the year. I know that's not a huge number. But I get distracted. My daughter's 3.5. My son will be home. I mean, I just get distracted so frequently, which is one of the reasons why I got the circular sock machine, and I'm getting the circular hat machine from Erlbacher Gerhardt, is because I can do things other than socks and hats on them, and I can share it with you guys, and just, you know, still make something and make something functional, and that is an accomplishment. I would really like to do a swancho with shorter sleeves. I started it in a superwash wool of the Andes, and I know it washes up well. It just doesn't feel great to work with, and I made some oopses. And as much as I know I can start over or go back, and I have confidence at this point to do it, and I'm not that far, I'm just reluctant. So I'm looking at some other things that I want to possibly start. I have to let the dogs out. Are the rabbits out? Don't be going outside with the rabbits. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. Hey, the dogs need to go potty, so you need to get somewhere. All the way, all the way, all the way. Go in. You going outside? I am so sorry. We have 4 rabbits that are living in our backyard. It's grown. It's grown over the years. We have 4 right now. I really want to do it in the round. And Rebel Rebel, I really want to make. And I really want to make it in some of my Lolo Did It, Red Red Wine, but it's not in the round. And I'm pretty confident that I could yeah, I'm just gonna have to put that one off till later. There's a cowl from Espace Tricot. You know, the Canadian ladies that speak the French. And I don't remember the name of it. Getting Warmer. I want to make something cowly poncho-y for my sister. She's a fancy girl. And she's small. So I'm thinking about that one, but there's also this Danforth cowl that I just saw today from Quince and Company. Because I saw a different cowl that I think is basically this same cowl. Because this is actually more like an armless sweater ponchette thing. And I think the cowl I saw is basically this, just where your sleeves split, because you knit the front and the back and then there's a split. And then it comes together in the round for this one. That's paid for pattern, so I don't want to give anything away. But I think the cowl that I saw is just that ending at the split for the arms and just not doing anything else. So it's like this front and back panel with a turtleneck. And my sister wanted a poncho last year, but she wouldn't get the yarn. And I wasn't quite into the nice yarns at that point. Now I have some nice yarns, some yarns that she would value and wear. cashmeres and blends with silk and stuff, merinos. So those are the things that are percolating in the plan for the 2019 year of the sweater. And the sock finishing is giving me strength and hope. I want to nail down some of these odds and ends and figure out which one of my projects that I've started are just not going to go anywhere at this point. Because I want to do another shawl for my son's teacher. She's been fabulous. She's been so helpful. She's just been fabulous. And I made her the thing that I like the most of anything I've ever knit. It's just a very simple garter stitch triangle shawl that kind of faded in and out with some odds and ends I had of stranded dye works. And so she wants something else, and she'd like it in a black with some turquoisey stuff. I let her pick the yarns, and I explained that I can't actually do black with my site and stuff. I just can't. I can do something with some pops of black in it. But because it's not, that one was so easy. It was just this dark blue, and then this very bright pink that had some of the same blue in it, and then this other like more speckled pink with a lot of the blue in it, and she likes blue. So it was easy to just fade those in and out and be really wowed because they just worked. Where these other yarns are a variety of yarns, and the ones I had from Stranded Dye Works were DK, and they were solid, where these other ones are fingering weight, but she doesn't want a fingering weight scarf. So then I have to hold it double, and I'm just at a little bit of a loss as to the plan, because there's a few more skeins, and it's a little less perfect on the mixing. So I'm a little more leery of starting that. I want to have a good solid plan, so I want to feel like I have everything else kind of tied up before I jump into that. If you'd like to see what I'm talking about, it's in my see-through bag insert I bought for like $10 on Amazon. We started off with this, which is supposedly, I think I have to read. Whip Yarns, which is a dyer out of a city just north of Tucson. Loving it. It's back to haunt, and it says it's a DK, and it looks solidly DK. Yeah, you know, you pull on it and it doesn't just thin out. Okay, so I have that one, and I'm going to mix that. Oh no, my cake is coming apart. Okay, I have double wound this, and this is Smushy with Cashmere, Bermuda Teal, Dream in Color, which is also a Tucson dyer. So this is fingering weight. So I'm going to use 2 strands to the DK, and I'm hoping that that's going to work. Then this is more smushy, but with a slight additional color. That's why I'm going to put in this little bit of Cascade Heritage I have in fingering. I mean, I really do think it works. And then I have this little bit of, I think it's Folsom, but I'm not entirely sure. So I definitely think these are all going to work, but I'm trying to figure out the pattern, the pattern, because she really liked that kind of fade of the other one. And, you know, these two solids aren't really going to fade. However, she likes these. I don't have to use all these colors. I know that it will be big enough if I just use these two. But this is supposed to be smushy and DK. So I don't know thickness wise how I'm going to go together and where am I. Yeah, I need a better plan. I love color combining, and that was so fun when I crocheted because I did a lot of granny square stuff. And non-traditional granny squares where you'd have like a row or two of difference and then a big chunk of something else, and then the edging would be something different and more of a border, you know, to give it a finished feel. So we'll see. We'll see. I want my headspace to be really good before I jump into that, because I'd like it to be quite nice for her. And I've already given away a couple of Christmas gifts. Someone my husband used to work with, a pair of socks that were made for me that I bought. And then my aunt, I made a pair, half an inch difference in the foot. I thought I counted rows. I thought I was there. I don't know what the deal is. But then I also had a professional made pair that she took that she really liked. And then my dad, for Thanksgiving, I gave him, he's 80, I gave him a shorty pair that Freckled Whimsy made in the tab color short. And he really liked those. They fit well. They were soft. I washed everything. Hand washed and dried, air dried, blocked. So that felt good. That felt like a good start. We're starting the Secret Santa tomorrow at school, and I'm not even sure my person is going to be there because she doesn't work every day. I'm glad I got who I got. It is obvious she filled it out. You know, some people fill those things out and they know what it's for and they fill it out and it's just light. Because the gist is supposed to be encouragement. That's where the bottom line is. It's not supposed to be big, big, big gifts. So, I don't know. I need to get the gift to her, the big gift to her, by next Friday at our Christmas party that I can't attend because it's at night. And I need to be home with my kids. So I think I'm going to crank some tubes that match for her and her daughter to have that kind of thin cowl closed scarf. Because as long as my shoulder is fine, and with my machines on this really tall bar height table and at a standing height, it's much easier to crank with my opposite arm, which I'm thrilled about. So that's my plan there. And okay, I had notes. I can't read my notes, even though they're in big print. Oh yeah, so Saturday. So I'm doing my podcast now on Thursdays and Saturdays for sure. for sure. Unless of holidays and whatever. I pull names out of subscribers and commenters on the podcast for my gift giveaways. I do the gift giveaways usually every 2 weeks. And I pull from the Ravelry group's activity, the people who are active. I just pick a thread that's had a lot of activity, do a random draw, and there you go. I try to eliminate people who've already won, and hopefully if we continue to get people, then that won't be an issue. There have been a couple of double ups for different things, and I'm fine with that. People who've gotten a tube more than once or whatever. I am being sponsored by Growly Bear Soaps and sending out foot creams right now, and just some other stuff that she's given me. And she's from a mayor somewhere near Prescott, Arizona. Also, I have a shipping sponsor. Thank you, Grandpa Ed. We're not afraid of international shipping. It just usually takes you a while to get there. And my prizes consist of a sock tube, a Braille stitch marker or progress keeper. Braille is a dying language, but things like that will maintain because I sew them into my kids' uniform sweatshirts where you have a mound of them to go through at the end of the day. I can just feel for the tag, because who else has a Braille one? Nobody. And yes, occasionally people have cut them out, but whatever. If you needed it that bad, no problem. So I think it's fun, and since I am like the goofy blind lady and do tell the goofy blind stories, I might as well share that. And you do all put up with my bad lighting, bad focus, stuff. And so it's usually a sock tube. It's usually an entire 50 or 100 gram skein with a mini. A lot of times I'll tell you the amount of rows that you're getting and which end was the beginning and end, because you can pull from it like a sock blank and just unravel it and use it. You don't have to make socks out of it. Most of the time you're at 8.5 to 9 stitches per inch as far as the gauge. That's what I'm shooting for. I have a hard time reading gauge. This is another reason why I don't want to get into the business of professionally making socks and charging a lot of money, because cranked socks are expensive. So I don't want to get into that, since I can't be as precise as I want to be. That's why I'm more interested in getting into the hat tube thing, where I can crank a hat tube that you can use for a cowl or a hat or a teddy bear or whatever. And if it goes somewhere, it goes somewhere. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm not overly concerned. I didn't start my podcast for a business. I started it to be a part of a community, and I have truly appreciated the people I've met and the people who've reached out, who've had the guts to ask questions, to comment, to talk. I feel like I have friends. I became housebound, not able to drive, in my mid-30s, and we lived in the country, and I really haven't had friends for 15 years. So it's beyond words. And one of the things I was telling my kids over the summer that they were grappling with was the friendships at school nowadays. They just seem so much more catty than they were. And I'm like, you have to, if you want friends, you have to be a friend. You know, sometimes you have to do it first, and sometimes you just have to keep doing it until the friendships come, until the friendships are solid. And I realized I wasn't being a very good example of that in my day-to-day life. So here we are, and I love it. And I can't even, on the friendships that I've already made and all the other people that I've connected with who've said, you know, oh, I'm sorry I have an illness, or I'm housebound, or I'm this or I'm that. And I say, I get it. That's not a problem. I'm amazed you showed up to check your emails today, let alone figuring out how to get a package to the post office. Because sometimes that it takes me lots of coordination. One of my favorite people in the world is Mike Rowe. And I love listening to his stories, Paul Harvey-like stories. And he's got a catchphrase for him, and I can't think of it. Anyway, I love you, Mike Rowe, because he's got the voice. And I like what he does and what he stands for. I don't think everyone in this world needs a 4-year degree. I don't think that always gets people anywhere. I struggled. I'm intelligent, but I struggled in college because of the reading, because I didn't realize how much my eyesight was contributing to that. He's been doing this stamps.com business, and I keep thinking, maybe I should do that. So if you too have postal issues, go check out Mike Rowe and stamps.com. And just listen to him. Skip the audiobook. Listen to a few of Mike Rowe's podcasts. The Way I Heard It, those are his stories. He's a fabulous writer. Yeah, I love his voice. That'll get me sidetracked so fast. Talk about some Mike Rowe. And he's aged well. He's not as cocky and somewhat arrogant as he was during the dirty jobs business. But that's just my opinion. So anyway, I do have some help with the prizes, and so many of us enter these prizes all the time and we never win anything. So I like it. I like giving back to people who reach out, communicate, give me support, help me teach my kids good lessons. And in today's day and age, embrace it. I'm sick and tired of people saying how crazy it is. Well, yeah, it is, but this is the way it is. So on that note, look with your heart first, not your eyes. Be a friend first, and you'll make a friend. Saturday, I will announce 1 or 2 winners, at least one from the Ravelry group, and possibly one from the new subscribers on the podcast. So get active, get commenting, and remember there is that thread where I will crank you a tube if you're not a winner, just for a swap of a skein and that extra mini. So thank you and have a great weekend. We'll talk to you Saturday.